All right, so this is for Andrea Gyles. And the first thing I would say is if you want more values in here, you need to ultimately create more variance in your gray tone and things like that. So right now, if you look at this with just a simple black and white on here, so we're going to just add black and white, you can see it's very flat and very kind of toned out. But if I add in a multiply layer here, multiply, and I'm going to do 50% gray. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start building up the values in this so that it makes more sense. And so I'm going to just kind of start building out the shadows a little bit more. I'm going to build out the form a little bit more. So you can see here I'm adding in a little bit of definition for the character here. I'm going to go in and I'm going to shape out things a little bit more. And that shape is going to give you the form that you ultimately want. And so you can see here, just by doing this little bit of, a little bit of adjustment here, I'm adding in more values of what my character has, okay? And I'm not, technically you don't want to be using your a flat gray. I mean, you can, but it's just going to give you a kind of a rough kind of look and feel. And so just forming out, little things like, wrinkles, forming out sense of like how things are kind of pushed together, so wrinkles in the fabric, going in and kind of adding in seams in the figure are going to add that detail in there. Adding in that sense of value is ultimately what's going to kind of really kind of push out that character. And so you can see here, just by doing a little bit of pushing out and kind of forming out of this character, even though it's very simple kind of brush strokes that I'm using, I'm getting a sense of value. And if you got light here, maybe you'll have kind of a darker value on this side. And so you can see here, by just adding in those values, gives me a little bit more form. And then the next thing that I would tell you to do is go in and add a screen layer and do the same thing for the highlights. And so now, by adding in a little bit of the highlights, a little bit of the cheeks, a little bit on the nose, some on the neck, kind of around here, a little bit on the breast, adding in, some of these highlights on the wrinkles here, like so. And so by doing that, and this is, even though this is very rough, I'm still getting a sense of highlights for shadows, and I'm getting a sense of how things are kind of achieved. And so you can see here, going from this value here of, going from this value of a simple character and slowly kind of, let's cut right over here, copy here. So slowly adding in that information, and then going through and adding in additional like values. So adding in kind of a dark shadow like that. Doing that type of thing is going to really kind of emphasize what you're trying to kind of achieve. And so you can see here that just by adding in a simple, shadow and a sense of lighting adds in much more kind of information and pushing in, where the form lies, how the shadow is going to fall, and all of that information. And so that's ultimately what you want to achieve in your values is more sense of form. And so now when I look at it, I see those values pop in and pop out, all right? And this is not the normal way I do things, but it's the easiest way to kind of explain how to push more form into your drawings and paintings.